Hello, hello, everyone. Hello from Sundance. John, we missed you. We missed you so much.
I was bummed out the entire weekend. Like I'm so angry that I live in a place that is so cold that it hinders travel. How dare I?
I get it. I get the disappointment. Weather sadly is out of our control. I wish I wish there was something we could have done about that. We missed you here quite a bit. Um Clearly I'm still here. For everybody out there watching, on a scale of 1 to 10, how blurry is my video right now? 10 being like you look damn good, 1 being what did you say? Like you look like a potato?
Potato.
Potato? Is that like a wonky Wi-Fi thing, a potato, or is it because my hat looks like a potato? I don't know.
It's just general like internet slang for bad hardware.
Okay.
Honestly, right now you look fine. A little bit ago you didn't look as good, but your video quality looks fine right now.
I did just look on the Twitter live stream, and it looks pretty good. It looks pretty good.
Let's cross our fingers and hope that it stays that way.
Not that I want everybody to see my super sleepy face in HD right now, but we're here.
You look great. You don't look that tired.
So I thought we would do a little Sundance recap because that is like one of the hottest events in the film industry going on right now. I was lucky enough to see a whole bunch of movies, do a bunch of interviews as well. And I figured I want to throw a lot of questions your way, John, just so I hit anything you might be curious about. But I wanted to start with, at the very least, my 3 favorite films of the festival. So for some of them, I want to just like read the brief description because I don't want to teeter anywhere near spoiler territory, especially with one of them. But my top 3 movies of Sundance 2024, beginning with number 3 on that list, would be Your Monster, the new Melissa Barrera movie, which I absolutely loved. The synopsis for that one is: after her life falls apart, soft-spoken actress Laura Franco finds her voice again when she meets a terrifying yet weirdly charming monster living in her closet. It's just the ultimate genre mashup. There is usually, I don't want to close myself off to any genre. I stay open to everything, but romantic comedies aren't always my top priority. I thought the rom-com elements of this movie were like impossibly charming. Like the connection that happens between her character and Monster, it works so well. And I'll shout out to the actor playing Monster in the movie, Tommy Dewey, who I think handles the the makeup and prosthetics work exceptionally well. And whoever designed the prosthetics in that movie, it works really well too, because he looks like a monster, but his performance also comes through all of that makeup, which is not an easy thing to do. So there's romantic comedy stuff that works really well. It dips into darker territory, which I found really effective. A lot of the story is affiliated with a musical theater show, which I thought added a really nice touch to it. It literally is doing everything. And I think it does everything very, very well, which is not easy to do. How's that one sound to you, John?
That actually sounds fantastic. There are people in chat who are asking about like streaming options for it, because I do know that some of the films are available for streaming. I was looking to see if that one is, because that's one that I will actually watch, but it doesn't look like it is.
That one is not available. I've heard, I haven't really done much digging into this, just because I was just focused on whatever interviews I had to do. But at this point, I need to start looking into the online screening options. And I've heard from others that a lot of the Midnighters aren't available online for whatever reason. So that one is not available. My second favorite is also a Midnighter, and I fear it's also going to be unavailable. I'm sorry, folks. Yeah, it is also unavailable. It's called It's What's Inside. This is the one that I'm especially concerned about staying well clear of spoilers on. So the synopsis of that one is: a pre-wedding party descends into an existential nightmare when an estranged friend shows up with a mysterious suitcase. That is a very accurate description. There is so much more to that movie that I can't fully explain to you right now. It really is an exceptional ensemble piece. And the only way the core concept of this movie can work is if, I think in my tweet, I described it as like acting gymnastics. And I mean that truly. This concept would not work unless you have actors who can man, I don't even know how to describe this accurately without ruining anything here, but they're all phenomenal. And Greg Jardin, the director, it's his feature directorial debut, and it's a concept on the page and on the screen that doesn't work unless you have a confident director who knows how to convey complex ideas in a clear manner. One of the things we were talking about, I think he brought it up in the interview, and then the folks who were working in the studio, we were talking about it all week, is he laid out the idea of good confusion versus bad confusion. Because sometimes whenever someone calls a movie confusing, it's like, uh-oh, it's probably not good. It's probably not well written. But good confusion is so exciting because like that's what keeps you on your toes. Like when you don't quite know how everything is going to come together, when you don't know who to trust, when you don't know someone's motivations. The point is, as long as it coalesces in the end and you get clarity, then it works. And this particular movie, I think, does good confusion exceptionally well.
That also sounds like one. I'm reading a little bit about the film here on my second monitor, and this one sounds like one that I would actually be kind of interested in hearing more about the behind the scenes process for, because according to this, it was shot in secret over the course of 18 days. So like, it sounds like it was probably a very guerrilla style sort of production, which I always find fascinating personally.
I think you're gonna dig this movie, John. I think you're gonna like it, like on the screen, but also behind the scenes as well.
I will say it loses some points for me personally because it was shot in Portland, and I hate Portland so much that like I see a landmark, it's gonna make me angry. I grew up in Oregon, so like I'm justified in my hatred of Portland. But
you're safe with that.
It sounds great. I'm gonna check it out. Both of these films that you've talked about so far are two that I wanted to see, and I'm gonna be checking out because they sound fascinating.
They're really great. And I was pretty convinced that those movies were going to be my number one and my number two, like almost the entire festival. And then I went to my last screening of the festival, and it's just like, I don't even think this does the effect the movie had on me justice. Like it just like it knocked the wind out of me. It floored me. I couldn't get over how effective this film was. It's My Old Ass. I also just love saying the title. I adore this movie. For anyone who doesn't know, this is the second feature for Megan Park, the director. She also did The Fallout with Jenna Ortega and Maddie Ziegler, which I thought was one of the best movies of that year. And I thought that it was so good that it could have been one of those festival releases that went throughout the year, built momentum, built hype, built buzz, and started to get some award season love even. It's that good. But then it didn't really get, the biggest release. I believe it was only a streaming release too, so it would have taken it out of the Oscar conversation. But I thought that movie was exceptional. So obviously this was a high priority for me. And I went in with high expectations. She still like blew those expectations away. Here's the synopsis. The summer before college, bright yet irreverent Elliot comes face to face with her older self during a mushroom trip. The encounter spurs a funny and heartfelt journey of self-discovery and first love as Elliot prepares to leave her childhood home. It is such a brilliant concept to explore because you casually kind of play that game with yourself all the time. Like, if you could go back in time and tell your younger self one thing, like what would it be? The movie does like play into that idea, like in that sense, in that surface level sense, but then it goes so much deeper, and it has so much to say about our relationships with our past, our present, and our future. And then it also has a phenomenal lead performance from a young actor named Maisie Stella, who is like, I watched that, and to me, that is the definition of a breakout performance. Like, if you need a launch pad, like that's it. Everybody should be going after her performance in this movie. And then her older self is played by Aubrey Plaza. And the two of them are perfect together. Perfect, John.
I always love Aubrey Plaza. Every time that she shows up, I'm always happy. I've never been disappointed by an Aubrey Plaza performance, even in movies that I didn't enjoy, like for instance, the Child's Play remake, which was kind of a stinker. She was probably the high point of that film for me. So I'm always happy to see her show up. Doesn't matter the film.
Yeah, usually when she chooses something, I'm like, all right, sign me up for that. Another good thing to know about my old ass is that Margot Robbie is involved via Lucky Chap, and Lucky Chap is soaring. I mean, they're at a point where they've built up so much consistency with their company that if they are attached to a project, you pretty much know with certainty you are going to get a movie of a certain quality, if not higher. And this movie is especially high quality. So keep an eye out for it. Wait, let me look up if it's available on. It's not available online either. I'm so sorry to anybody with the online access right now.
So one thing that I want to know is you've just talked about your top three. What is one of the films that you saw that you didn't expect to like as much as you did? Maybe you went into it being like, I'm watching this because I got nothing else to do, or I'm watching it because I got to cover this for an interview or whatever. But then you saw it and you're like, wow, that was really good.
I feel like my brain doesn't quite work that way. Like I don't ever. That's not
Fair.
true. Yeah. Well, it's not true when it's a traditionally released film, like a wider release that had a whole marketing campaign behind it, where I've had access to things like trailers that I can judge and can set certain expectations. Whereas at Sundance, like most of the movies, all you have is a single still from the film. So it's hard to go in with like really low expectations. But I would say you'll appreciate this too behind the scenes. I think the one movie that maybe surprised me the most because like I can't believe it exists. I can't believe the people involved just like jumped in feet first, gave this their all. And I couldn't believe how how moved I was by the end of it too. It's Sasquatch Sunset. Do you know what that movie is, John?
I've heard about it, but I don't know much beyond like, as you said, like a still, and that's about it.
So the synopsis that they put on the official Sundance website for that one is a year in the life of a singular family. That singular family is a family of Sasquatch, and it is actors like Riley Keough and Jesse Eisenberg dressed head to toe like a Sasquatch, and it basically is a movie that imagines if like footage of Sasquatch is real, like what does Sasquatch do like day to day when it's not like running from human beings or like getting captured for a split second on a grainy video, and it just like follows their day-to-day life, like, and the mundane aspects of their life too. Like there's like long sequences where they're just like sitting there munching on leaves. They 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 throw their shit at stuff. Like it's there's so much absurd behavior in it, but it makes so much sense because the whole point in the movie is to imagine how they operate. And so I think it works really well on screen, but then also like my filmmaking loving brain is just so enthused by the idea that, I mean, actors just got to explore every creative possibility imaginable by putting on those suits and like swinging for the fences by like acting like a Sasquatch nonstop. It's really fascinating, and it's fascinating to me how they could, you know, really make the most of that opportunity, but in a way that makes sense. Ultimately, in the end, each Sasquatch feels well defined. I understand where they fit in the hierarchy, what they want, what's important to them, and you really get invested in their lives.
Well, I will tell you that as somebody who grew up in the Pacific Northwest, the home of Sasquatch, and of course I grew up watching Harry and the Hendersons. I have a deep love for Sasquatch in cinema. I'm on board. I'm sold. I'm here
Okay.
for it. And
Well,
like the, as you said, the just from a filmmaking standpoint, the idea that like someone was just like, hey, let's just get people and just let them be Sasquatches and like be silly and ridiculous and weird. Like that sounds awesome. I'm all about it.
I'll throw in two more honorable mentions here because Sasquatch Sunset's not available online. This other one that I'll mention very briefly, Ghostlight, is also not online, but it's really good. Do you know about that one, John?
That is one that I've heard. I haven't heard a lot of people mention a lot of specific films out of Sundance because like my Twitter feed just doesn't have a lot of people talking about it right now. But Ghostlight is one that quite a few people have brought up, and like even some people have been saying that they think that that might be the best film of the festival.
I mean, I could get behind that. If I had extended my list to a top 5, it would probably be in it. It's very, very lightly. It kind of explores the idea of how a man can, power through some struggle and grief via art, via acting in a play. And I feel like we've spoken about this before. Like the way my brain operates, sometimes I have an easier time processing the challenging things that I'm going through movies rather than through real life.
Yeah.
And that is literally what this movie is doing. The other really cool thing about Ghostlight, and I was trying to explain this in my tweet in a way where I made clear that like it wasn't done as a stunt, as a gimmick. It just like it works really well, and then it's cool to know about after the fact. It's about a family. It's a mother, a father, and a daughter. And in real life, they're a family of actors. And
that's a recipe for disaster, if I've ever heard one. I know actor families, and it's a nightmare sometimes.
It's pure gold for them. And they came into the interview studio, and they're lovely people, and the joy and the pride they had in each other's performances. It was really such a beautiful thing. They are good performances all on their own, regardless of whether or not they're related in the movie. I just want to make it very clear that the movie doesn't like lean on that in a way that doesn't feel, like it's serving the project over a gimmick.
It's an enhancement, but not a crutch.
It's just like it's a cool, nice thing to think about after. Yeah. I'm very happy for them. And, especially the younger one is on the rise right now. She was just in, Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. So I'm looking forward to seeing her soar. And they're like, the family is mostly in the theater scene. I would love to see them get more screen roles. So there's that one. And here's one you can watch online. I wanted to make sure to at least highlight one. And it was also another movie that I loved that I highly recommend. Pony Boy is available online. It looks like, according to the website, you can get tickets from January 25th to January 28th. And I recommend that. I'm a big fan of River Gaio, who wrote, produced, and acted in the movie. And that's another person at Sundance this year that I would say keep an eye on them. Their screen presence in this movie is just utterly infectious. They are the beating heart of this film. They suck you into it right away. And it's their vision. And I just have a very good feeling that is a star you are going to see soar in the coming weeks, months, years. River Gaio, Pony Boy, Dylan O'Brien is also in it. He's great. I love Victoria Pedretti. She also shines in it. India Moore is in it in like an itty bitty role. And it's the perfect example, John, of there being no small roles. Takes that scene and just makes so much of it. I couldn't believe it. So there's a whole bunch of titles for you.
So there's something for people to check out. One that has come up in chat a couple of times that I want to ask about just to see if you saw it would be Freaky Tales. A couple people have brought that up.
Tales. I didn't make it in time. Yeah, we had gotten in that day, but I've heard some good things. I think Steve might have gone. I think Steve went to see it when we first got here. Pedro Pascal. How people are curious.
Point is, there were some fantastic films at Sundance, and you got a chance to see some great ones that hopefully people will be able to watch here soon.
Yes.
Do we know if those films have been bought? If a few of them that you talked about?
I am eagerly awaiting acquisition news. I'm a little.
It's a little early to know, I suppose.
I'm a little disappointed there hasn't been more reports yet, but I know I got to be patient and wait for those deals to happen. But I want good things for all those movies I just name dropped.
I am even more disappointed now that I wasn't able to make it. Because all of those sound like fantastic films that I would have loved to have checked out. Plus, there's a few others that I wanted to see that I'll just have to be patient and hope that I get the opportunity.
Make the most of the online library while you can.
I am going to be diving into some of that while working here shortly.
All right.
At least as much as I can,
Pony Boy, check it out.
It's on my list.
Okay. I like that. All right. You ready to go on to our next topic?
Yes. This one I should theoretically have a little bit more to say.
Okay. I'm very curious to see where you stand on a lot of this. we're going to move on to our final Oscar nomination predictions because tomorrow's the day. It's time. Like, no more nominations predictions after this because we will know our nominees tomorrow. And John, I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
When are the nominations coming out tomorrow? Is it in the early morning? Are we going to be able to talk about it on Dailies tomorrow?
Yeah, it's okay. Early morning. My time zones are all screwy right now, but it is early in the morning, so you will be able to talk about it on Collider.
Okay, so people will be able to look forward to that. But let's talk about the nominations.
So do you have lists handy? Like, can I ask you what your predicted 10 for Best Picture is?
I don't have 10 for Best Picture, but I do have some predictions for Best Picture. I don't have the full numbers for all of them, but I have Best Picture figured out. Oppenheimer. I think Oppenheimer is going to be the big win across the board in a lot of categories. So I think Oppenheimer is going to be there. The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Past Lives, Poor Things. And honestly, it would not surprise me if we saw Barbie get a little bit of a shout out. And American Fiction, I also think will be on there, but I'm not as sold on American Fiction being up there.
I wasn't counting properly. How many did you just name? You name 8?
2, 3, 4. Yeah, I think I named 8.
I think you got all 8. Like, I think all 8 will go on to get Best Picture nominations. Right now, my list in order from one being most likely to 10 being least likely. Oppenheimer, The Holdovers, Barbie, Poor Things, Killers of the Flower Moon, American Fiction, Maestro, Past Lives. Then the 2 that you didn't name that I have on my list. I am betting on The Color Purple getting a Best Picture nomination. The way I'm justifying that right now is the weight that comes with getting a SAG Ensemble nomination. I do think that could push it into the conversation. And then for my 10th spot, I was choosing between Anatomy of a Fall and The Zone of Interest. And I know many people think both are going to get on this list, especially after both made history by getting PGA nominations. It was the first time that 2 international features got PGA nominations. I'm having a hard time getting behind 2 international features getting into Best Picture. And the way that I'm thinking it through is that because France snubbed Anatomy of a Fall and it's not in contention for Best International Feature, we will see The Zone of Interest run away with that category. And then because a lot of folks out there are very passionate about Anatomy of a Fall, it's going to get a groundswell of support to get it into the Best Picture race. So I have that as my number 10.
I will say I did debate putting Anatomy of the Fall on there, but I didn't feel confident enough for a lot of the reasons that you listed for me to like really put it in there as like a set, prediction. So it's up there. If it gets in, I will not be surprised at all.
Is there any dream Best Picture nominee, like something that is probably out of the realm of possibility, but you would just like lose it tomorrow if shockingly that film's name was called?
The problem is that most when we talked about our favorite films of the year on the show across those 2 episodes, most of my top films are like genre films or like the kind of stuff that there's not a shot in hell that they're getting up there. I will say not with Best Picture, but I will be very hyped if Godzilla -1 gets Best International, which I'm not going to hold my breath on that. Outside of that, as I said, most of my favorite films of last year are genres. So there's nothing that if it popped up, I'd be like screaming my head off. What about you?
The place where you could see Godzilla -1 pop up is VFX. It did, I believe, on that short list. So it could be there. I mean, I've like wrapped my head around the reality of the situation for so long. I'm pretty set on this, but like you, I'm a genre lover. If I could live to see the day where a really good Scream or Evil Dead sequel was nominated for Best Picture,
if Evil Dead Rise got a nomination, I would faint. I'm not a fainter, but I would, in disbelief, I would just be out on the floor face down. Someone would have to resuscitate me.
Oh, here's a great example. The film that I would lose my mind if it got a Best Picture nomination would be Society of the Snow. I'm very hopeful Society of the Snow will get an international feature nomination, but like I'm with you. I think that this movie needed more award season love than it got, and it should have been a more serious contender for Best Picture. Very good. Very good. Streaming on Netflix for anyone who hasn't watched it.
I'll definitely have to check out because I haven't seen it.
Can you give me your predictions for Best Director?
Okay, Best Director. This one is Where is it on my list? Here it is. So I have 3 that I am like certain have on lock, and then there are 3 that I'm going to throw into maybes. So the ones that I'm like, yeah, they're getting nominated are Christopher Nolan, Martin Scorsese, and I can never say this guy's name, Yorgos Lanthimos. I think.
You got it.
I've never had to say it out loud, so that's like
say it with authority because you know it.
Yorgos Lanthimos, sure. And then my 3 maybes, Alexander Payne for The Holdovers. I could definitely see that being there. And Cord Jefferson for American Fiction. Also another one. I think he did a solid job. Greta Gerwig, I think could be thrown up there. I think she would fit. Do I think she's going to win? No, but I could see her being up there.
Yeah. My list is somewhat similar. Like Christopher Nolan, I think, is running away, not just with like the nomination. Yeah. He's winning this category. Like something pretty like big would have to happen, I think, to shake up this race. So I've got Christopher Nolan. I don't think you're separating Barbenheimer anymore. So Greta Gerwig will be in this category in my mind. Martin Scorsese, of course. I do have Yorgos Lanthimos, and then I switch gears from the WGA nominations with my last one. They gave the nomination to Alexander Payne. Here's where I'm going to take him out because I think the Holdovers might get a little more love in the screenplay categories than in the directing categories. And here's where I give the zone of interest more attention because I think Jonathan Glazer is going to be the one to get in. Usually what happens with the DGA nominations is ultimately, roughly like on average, maybe, I don't know if that's the exact mathematical stat, but I'm expecting something like 4 of the 5 nominees that they chose to go on to get Best Picture nominations. So that's my one swap in this category.
I know that a lot of people, he's on a lot of people's lists of predictions, so it would not surprise me at all. I just didn't really put it up there because I wasn't like super thrilled with his directing. I think that there were other very, very standout parts of that film, but his directing wasn't necessarily, I think, the strongest point. But that's just me.
Oh, you might be in the minority on that one.
I know that I'm in the minority, and that's fine.
That's why I give him the edge, because I feel like the way he went about filming that movie is what makes it exceptional. And I think there's a lot of people out there who do recognize that, and it could push him in over, and I'm not saying that this is how the thinking should be, but, I find that sometimes when it's a film that's a little more grounded and less flashy, like let's say The Holdovers, it can be easier to overlook what goes into directing a film like that versus something like Oppenheimer or with something with a specific style like The Zone of Interest, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I get it. Like I'm not gonna, look down on people for disagreeing with me or anything.
Never do. All right. Do you want to do best actress and best actor, and then we'll call it quits?
Yeah. I mean, I also have best supporting for both of those, but we can run through those really quick. So best actor, I've got 4 that I'm confident with, which is Cillian Murphy, Paul Giamatti, Leonardo DiCaprio, and Bradley Cooper. I think those are the 4 names that pretty much everyone has on their lists.
Wait, you said Cillian, Bradley, Paul Giamatti, and who was the other one?
DiCaprio.
Oh, okay.
Maybe he's not on as many lists as the other 3, but I would certainly put him up there.
Leonardo DiCaprio is the one that I've predicted will get bumped out of this category for a little while now. And then I think the SAG nominations gave me a little more faith in my own prediction. And I'm not like rooting for that to happen. I thought Killers of the Flower Moon overall was great. I think he's great in it. But I think that the Oscar nominee list is going to mirror in this category the SAG nominees. And, I'm kind of hoping that they do here because like I really like a lot of these performances, like a lot. I have Cillian. Well, no, now actually not anymore. If I'm doing it my list in order, it is now Paul Giamatti as my number 1. He is the front runner in this category now.
I think it's going to be a battle, but I think it can be either one of them.
Paul Giamatti is he's picking up some serious momentum.
Oh, he is for sure.
He's my number 1. Then I have Cillian Murphy, then I have Bradley Cooper, then I have Jeffrey Wright, and then I have Coleman Domingo. And when I'm going to just say this with authority because I want it to happen, when Coleman Domingo's name is called out, that is one of the ones that I will be most happy about. I really like Rustin. I thought it was very underseen, but it is also very, very clear to me that like his performance is like the anchor, the reason that movie works. And it's just so clear that he gave every ounce of himself and then some to that role. It is like truly transformative, so powerful. I think he needs to get recognized for that performance.
A nomination, honestly, I don't think is out of the question. I think that you'll probably get it. You're probably right, to be honest.
In that case, I certainly hope to be right. There's some instances, I'll tell you, John, where like if I'm wrong, I won't care, because I think we had a good year of releases.
Oh,
and
yeah.
like there's a lot of categories where it makes me so happy that I'm looking at the list and saying, you know, maybe I would pick that person, but if that person won, I wouldn't be mad about it because they're great too. It doesn't happen like that every year.
That's true.
All right.
This is going to be a great year, I think, just across the board.
Best actress?
Best actress. So I said on a previous episode of Dailies, when I was with Steve talking about one of the awards that happened last week, I can't remember which one it was, that I think it's going to be down to a battle of the Stones, as I called it. I think it's going to be Lily Gladstone or Emma Stone. I think it's going to be one of those two are going to win. But also with the nominations, Carey Mulligan, Annette Bening, and Greta Lee, I think are all good, solid options. So a couple of those, I know that Annette Bening and Greta Lee aren't ones that a lot of people are like sold on, but I think that they did a great job in their films, enough that I think that they deserve the nomination.
So this is a case where I can say very much. I like your list. I like your list a lot. And I do agree that it's mostly down to, I guess, the Battle of the Stones. Right now, Emma Stone is very much my clear front runner, but after
I give it to Gladstone personally. That's mostly me wanting her to win more than thinking if she is or not.
I do think I think Lily Gladstone is great. Again, it's a situation where I won't be mad if she won, but even as someone who has been in awe of many Emma Stone performances, what she does in Poor Things just boggles my brain. Like I think that is on another level, even compared to her past nominated and winning performances. Like that's really just like a once in a lifetime kind of role. And I would just be shocked if she wasn't rewarded for what she does.
This is probably the hardest part of our job, is trying to like figure out who we think might win, because there are especially this year, there's so many good options in every category that there's no like wrong answer, really. There's no invalid opinion.
I'll say Emma Stone's my front runner. Lily Gladstone is the potential upset. I think depending on how the rest of the season goes, we could start switching gears with that. Carey Mulligan's my number 3. Then I have Margot Robbie at number 4. And then I'm going Fantasia Barrino at number 5. I am predicting that I guess The Color Purple gets more love tomorrow than I think others are predicting. But I don't know. I don't understand how you walk away from that film, especially with like how strongly her performance builds, and you're not rocked to your core by what she does in that movie. So I am giving her the edge, but I don't think you're wrong about Annette Bening. I think there is a real chance that we could see both Annette Bening and Jodie Foster get Oscar nominations. Greta Lee, while I think she's very deserving to be in the conversation, and I would like to see her name pop up on the list, I feel like Past Lives might have stronger chances in other categories.
Yeah, those two, the last two, Bening and Lee, are the two that I'm not the most confident. They're sort of wishful thinking in a lot of ways.
I'll take wishful thinking. All right, do you want to briefly do Best Supporting Actor and Actress?
Yes, I'll just rattle them off right now. Best Supporting Actor, Robert Downey Jr. I think it's going to win. I think it's his to lose. Willem Dafoe, Robert Downey Jr., Mark Ruffalo. I could also see Sterling K. Brown or Charles Melton getting some nods.
So you went double Poor Things.
Yes.
Okay.
I think that if it's going to be one of the two of them, I think Willem Dafoe, but either one of them wouldn't surprise me.
I've been saying Mark Ruffalo all along, and then all of a sudden the SAG nominations came out, and Mark Ruffalo's name was not on the list, and Willem Dafoe's was, so that definitely changed mine. Right now my list is Robert Downey Jr. I think he is the front runner to win. Then I have Ryan Gosling for Barbie, Robert De Niro for Killers of the Flower Moon, then Willem Dafoe for Poor Things, and my number 5, I'm so happy to say this now, Sterling K. Brown for American Fiction. I have been championing his performance in this movie the whole season, but when it comes to making predictions, I want to give you as accurate predictions as possible. And I understood that, he was more on the bubble. He was more in the honorable mention section, but then he got a SAG nomination.
I feel like just across the board, it feels like American Fiction isn't getting the buzz when it comes to awards that I would think it deserves. So there's a lot of categories where I was like thinking about it and I was like, can I fit somebody from American Fiction in here? Do I feel confident putting them in here? And I struggled sometimes. Because looking at other awards, I was like, I don't know how it's faring.
I think it's got a pretty good shot. I'm really hoping the Sterling K. Brown SAG nomination turns into an Oscar nomination tomorrow morning. I think Jeffrey Wright is in pretty good shape. I'd be shocked if it wasn't included in Best Picture. I do think it's going to get a screenplay nomination. I think it's a pretty strong contender in a number of categories. And the only reason why, not the only reason, it's because there's lots of talent in that particular category, but when I think about someone like Cord Jefferson and Celine Song in the Best Director category, it's a stacked year with a lot of industry icons, a lot of previous nominees, and they are first-time feature filmmakers. So I'm very glad that they got that honor at the DGA nominations, but I don't think they're going to get Best Picture nominations, although I'm not ruling out the possibility entirely. Yeah. But again, a stacked year. It's going to be hard.
And then supporting actress, I've got Emily Blunt, Divine Joy Randolph, Jodie Foster, Danielle Brooks are the ones that not Jodie Foster for that one, Julianne Moore.
Yeah.
Jodie Foster, I put her on the wrong list because I intended her to be a maybe for actress. And then Danielle Brooks is my one Color Purple nomination. I haven't actually seen The Color Purple personally. I haven't had time. But I've heard a lot of buzz specifically around her performance, so I do feel like there is a little bit of a possibility there. My maybes would probably be Penelope Cruz for Ferrari. I could see that. I could see winds blowing in her direction. I could also see her being bumped out of it.
Yeah. Right now, I think this race is another one that's over. Divine Joy Randolph is going to win this award. I would be absolutely shocked if she didn't. I think Danielle Brooks is in very, very good shape with getting that nomination. Just like I think Fantasia Barrino is absolutely phenomenal, jaw-dropping work in The Color Purple. But I do think the person who took the most amount of the spotlight was Danielle Brooks in terms of people's takeaway from that movie and who they're going to be rooting for most in the Oscar race. But I do really want to see them both get nominations. Emily Blunt is my number 3. Jodie Foster is my number 4. I think Nyad has its best chance of getting a nomination in this particular category. But again, wouldn't be mad if Annette Bening got one too. So the number 5 is a big old toss-up. You already mentioned Julianne Moore for May December. She is a maybe on my list as well, but May December I feel like has experienced this trajectory during Oscar season. I think it is almost entirely pushed out of the conversation, especially with Charles Melton's snub in the supporting actor category from the SAG award. So I am not including Julianne Moore on my list. Penelope Cruz did get the SAG nomination, but I think that was a SAG-only thing. I think that's going to be the nomination that doesn't cross over into Oscar territory.
That's why she's a solid maybe for me.
I start to look at my other options, and I'm like, what's making the difference here? Probably the difference maker is going to be the strength of a campaign. And I think one of the strongest campaigns being mounted right now is the Barbie campaign. And in particular, I think they have gone above and beyond to make sure that America Ferrera has taken up a good chunk of that stage. And then on top of that, when you think about some of the most memorable moments in Barbie, how often do you hear people talk about her speech, her monologue in Barbie, that isn't just something that plays well in the movie. It's something that people have taken out of the movie, taken with them, and it has become a part of pop culture. I think she actually has the edge over a lot of the other names we're tossing around.
She was another one that I debated putting on there, but maybe I just don't feel as strongly about Barbie as some people do, that I didn't put it on in many categories, but who knows? I could be surprised.
We shall see. We shall see. We shall see tomorrow morning. I believe
Yes.
the time is 8:30 a.m. Pacific.
Yeah, that's what somebody
Eastern.
in chat said it specifically. I forgot who it was.
It's always 5:30 Pacific, which is like I'm glad that I get like an extra hour, so now I can wake up at like a little before 6:30 Mountain Time. I don't know, but that's it. John, before we say goodbye, you want to promote something?
Yeah, as I have promoted in the past, over on collider.com, we do premium video content now. So if you are on the website and you see an article's thumbnail that has a little play button in the corner, and I think also it says a runtime now, when you go into that article, there's going to be a video element alongside the article. It's like sometimes it's a TLDR of the list, or the video or article or whatever. Sometimes it's a additional thing. Sometimes it's an interview segment that has been connected. Sometimes it's something that is tangentially connected to the topic. Either way, it is something to just make your experience on collider.com a more full one. So go ahead and check that out. I spend far too much time of my waking hours working on that, and I hope that you all enjoy it.
Yeah, you work a lot on those videos, and you work really hard, and it's quality stuff. And I think it's important to emphasize that those videos are made by a very talented human being, and they're very well done. So everybody should watch them.
Very talented human beings, because there are 3 of us who do them now.
I should give the full team credit, but you are the one that I'm looking at, and I know you're very good at what you do. Check those videos out, appreciate them. And I'll just take a moment to tease. There's a lot of Sundance interviews coming your way. I can't remember what the grand total is, but I know I did 16, and I met a lot of really cool, talented people. And, some of them we all know, but there's a bunch that you're going to get to meet for the first time through these interviews. And I'm just so excited to, be a little teeny part of giving a really talented individual, the start of building a platform. So I'm excited to share all those with you.
Obviously, I'm not going to ask you which one, because it's like picking a favorite child.
No, I can pick a favorite.
Oh, you can? Okay, hit us. Which one's your favorite interview?
It's my favorite movie. It was My Old Ass. I didn't get the chance to talk to Megan for the Fallout, so I was really excited to do that. And then to get to have a moment to spotlight some young stars that I think are really going places is one of just it's one of the best parts of Sundance. And I know I already mentioned Maisie Stella, who I think is going to skyrocket, but then one of the actors who played her character's best friends in the movie, Carice Brooks, also came in for that interview. And it's yet again, another example of someone taking a small amount of screen time and having such energy and an infectious presence that she just makes a huge impression on the movie. And it happens on screen, but also in person as well. Just a really, really warm, wonderful energy that I couldn't get enough of. So I'm really excited for everybody out there to get to meet them as well. So very excited to share that interview.
So check out that interview, all of the rest of Perri's interviews, all the rest of the interviews
all for the record, John. Look them
all of the interviews that were done by everybody, all of the hard work that was put in by everybody there at Sundance. Go ahead and check that out, collider.com. They will be up very shortly, I'm sure. So go ahead and check that out. Also, Collider interviews on YouTube, and they'll be tweeted, clips will be tweeted out and on TikTok and all sorts of stuff. So there's plenty of ways for you to consume that content, and it's gonna be great stuff. I'm looking forward to a lot of it.
Thank you.
I'm gonna have to spend an entire day watching all of the interviews.
I hope you enjoy them. I hope you enjoy them. We definitely had a lot of fun doing them, and I appreciate the opportunity to get to do them. So that is where we will leave you today. tomorrow, John, is it you and Maggie tomorrow,
It's
right?
me and Maggie. I think that's what's on the schedule. Yes.
I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I imagine you are going to be talking about the Oscar nomination. So if you want to see John and Maggie discuss our nominees, tune in tomorrow again for a brand new Collider Dailies at 10 a.m. Pacific. They will see you then. Have a good day, everyone.